Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 46 female, at a loss and don't know what to do. Last year, my 14-year-old daughter passed away after battling a congenital heart condition her whole life. She was my only biological child, and since her death, I've kept a small urn with her ashes in my bedroom as the only way I know how to hold on to her memory. I remarried 3 years ago. My husband, 48 male, has a daughter, Kayla, 16 female, who lives with us part-time. From the beginning, Kayla and I never really got along. She's loud, impulsive, and regularly gets in trouble at school for fighting and skipping classes. Her mother, Lindsay, has made it very clear since I married her ex that she dislikes me. She goes out of her way to say nasty things about me to Kayla, and even once accused me of stealing her family. She's extremely bitter toward my husband, especially now that things are stable for us as a couple. A couple weeks ago, while I was running errands, I came home and noticed the urn with my daughter's ashes was missing. I searched everywhere, terrified, and finally asked Kayla about it. She rolled her eyes, shrugged, and said, "I flushed it down the toilet. Who wants a dead person in the house anyway?" I completely broke down. I've never screamed at anyone like that in my life. All I could feel was rage and heartbreak, her complete disrespect for my daughter's memory, and how coldly she did it. My husband heard the commotion and rushed in, but instead of comforting me, he immediately started making excuses for Kayla, saying she's just acting out and going through a hard time. He said it's just ashes, that I can't keep living in the past, and brought up how my grief has made it hard to connect as a family. To say I'm devastated is an understatement. I told my husband I can't even look at Kayla right now and need space from both of them. Lindsay, Kayla's mother, texted me later that same day to tell me I'm selfish for ignoring her daughter over an accident, and accused me of using my dead child for attention. My husband sided with them, saying I am blowing things out of proportion and choosing ashes over the living. I've barely even left my room these last days. My husband wants me to talk to Kayla and move on for everyone's sake. I can't forgive her. I can't look at her. And honestly, I don't want to be under the same roof as her right now. Apparently, I'm making everyone miserable and tearing the family apart by refusing to speak to Kayla, but I feel just as alone as the day I lost my daughter. Am I an a-hole for refusing to interact with my stepdaughter? 16-year-olds don't act out. They also know right from wrong. OP's husband's daughter is a horrible, vindictive, evil monster who OP needs to remove from her life. And OP's husband, as well as he has proven, he will never go against her, even when she does something so malicious. I don't understand how he can defend her, as what she has done is sickening. I see a possible sociopath or similar diagnosis in the future because something isn't right in her head. And now let's hear community's opinion. Firstly, I am so sorry for your loss. Losing a child is the hardest pain in the world. I'm sorry to say you don't just have a stepdaughter problem, but a husband problem as well. At 16, his daughter knew exactly what she was doing and did not care then for your husband to side with her. And his ex shows he truly does not care about you or your pain. I'm so sorry. I know everyone jumps on the divorce train here. But damn, girl, dump this man. Ask him how he would feel if it was his daughter's remains. He should go back to his ex if they think so much alike. And I'm sorry for your loss. No parent should ever have to lose a child. How do you accidentally flush ashes down the toilet also? Kayla needs to be evaluated for reals if her parents are not parenting her now. The law will do it later. You should speak to your husband or soon-to-be ex's parents ask how they feel about it. Update. After I made that post, I still couldn't leave my room. I was emotionally paralyzed. My husband pounded on the door, yelling that I needed to get over it for Kayla's sake. He threatened to bring Lindsay over to straighten me out. A few hours later, both of them were downstairs, screaming like I was the problem, blaming me for everything, twisting my grief into something ugly. I felt completely trapped in my own home. Then Lindsay stormed in. She screamed that I was hurting Kayla and using my daughter's memory to gain sympathy. The cruelty in her voice, the way they tag-teamed their abuse, It broke something in me. I finally snapped. I screamed back, years of pain and rage pouring out of me. I told them exactly what I thought of their manipulation, their lack of empathy, their inhumanity. Lindsay shoved me. I reacted without thinking and pushed her back. And that's when my husband lost it. He grabbed me, threw me to the floor, and punched me in the face, hard. Lindsay cheered. Kayla watched, smiling like it was some kind of sick show. That was the moment I knew. None of them had ever loved me. Not really. Not even a little. And they sure as hell didn't care about my daughter. Somehow I got up, still bleeding and in shock, and drove myself to the ER. I told the medical staff everything. They called the police. My husband was arrested at the house. He broke my nose. Later I was told Lindsay and Kayla are also being investigated. And then came the part I never saw coming. All three, my husband, his daughter, and his ex-wife, are being charged with desecration of human remains. Apparently, my husband tried to take the blame to protect Kayla, but Lindsay cracked during questioning. She confessed, thinking it wouldn't matter, but it did. Now all three of them are facing real, serious consequences. Justice is finally at their doorstep. I'm safe now. I'm staying at a friend's house, recovering physically and emotionally. I've started divorce proceedings. I'm done with this family. Thank you again to those of you who saw me, who reminded me that my grief is not the problem. These people were, and if you're reading this and find yourself in a situation that feels impossible, please believe me when I say this. You are not crazy. You are not too sensitive. You are not overreacting. You deserve to be safe. You deserve to be believed. And you deserve to heal. I only wish I had realized that sooner, for my daughter and for myself. I've been with my fiancé, Greg, for 3 years, and we just got engaged last month. He was married before, and him and his ex, Gemma, forgive the poor name choices, but I'm not at my most creative right now, had a stillborn baby. Greg says the grief of burying their child caused Gemma to have a mental breakdown, and she was never the same, and that's why they ended up getting divorced a little over a year later. The two of them have been weirdly close for Greg and my entire relationship. Gemma calls him at odd hours to talk, and pops up at our house whenever she needs to talk to him in person. They meet up frequently, and especially on the anniversary of their son's stillbirth. She gets extremely emotional, to the point that everyone worries that she'll harm herself. So the two of them have spent that day alone together every year that Greg and I have been together. I was never totally okay with the way Gemma clings to Greg, even if I'm around. But since she's mentally unstable, Greg says he's afraid of what she might do to herself if he cuts contact with her. I don't want that on my conscience, so I never push the issue, and just tolerate her constant presence. Ever since Greg told her that we got engaged, it's like she mentally snapped. She shows up at his job, and the two of them have been having lunch together, and her texts now seem like every hour. 2 days ago was the 4-year anniversary of their son's birth. This is the 3rd anniversary since I've been with Greg, and he didn't come home at all that night. The next day, yesterday, he didn't come home until after lunch, and I was livid. He said that he spent the night comforting her and crashed on her couch, and he made it seem like I was being insensitive to their grief for getting upset because he didn't answer a few missed calls, texts. We didn't speak to each other all yesterday. And just when I convinced myself that I was maybe being insensitive, he dropped a bomb last night. Gemma wants to have another baby with him. And Greg told her, get this, that he'd talk to me about it. What the actual duck? He told me that it would give them both closure. And Gemma won't be so clingy with him once she has his baby, so the two of us could have a fresh start to our lives. When I told him that not only is this idea insane, but only an insane woman would agree to it. He accused me of being selfish for trying to keep Gemma from regaining something that could help her mental health. We argued, and I threw my engagement ring at him and left. I spent the night at my sister's, and I've been ignoring Greg's calls, texts. Last night I was convinced that I don't want a lifetime of feeling like the other woman. But today, since I never lost a child, I don't know. Am I an a-hole? I love Greg, and I'm so heartsick over this, it's making me physically sick. If she has Greg's baby, she will literally be tied to him for life. It's not going to make her less clingy. It will make her more attached to him. I'd toss him to the curb fast. And what if Gemma doesn't get pregnant, but you do? Will he invite Gemma into your relationship to be the child's bonus mother just to help her mental health? Will you have to clear all your decisions about your children by Gemma because of her delicate mental health? Will she threaten to harm herself if you don't agree? You need to run and find a man who loves you and will put you first, because this guy is not it, not the a-hole. Girl, leave. He's just not that into you. If he can't see that everything he is doing is wrong, huge red flag, sleeping over. They already had S, and they are expecting she will be pregnant. He is just trying to pre-warn you and get you to approve it. So he won't be the bad guy. Save yourself time and heartache. Let him go back to that lady he cares so much about because he does not care for you. Update. Thank you all for your comments on my post, even the mean ones. I'm emotionally raw, but typing is like therapy right now. I made the post because I never lost a child, and wasn't sure if I was just being insecure or insensitive. To answer questions, Greg and Gemma's baby died in May 2021, and Gemma was hospitalized for 2 weeks after for depression. Greg and relatives had a burial for their baby 1 week later, while she was still in hospital. When she was released, Greg said she barely spoke and moved herself into their guest bedroom. She grew more distant, and he felt like she acted as if he wasn't also grieving, and he got resentful. He moved out of their house in September. When I met him in December, he wasn't wearing a wedding ring, but he did tell me that he was separated and had filed for divorce the previous month, November. By the new year, January 2022, maybe due to having to spend the holidays alone, Gemma kind of snapped out of it and started reaching out to Greg on the phone. When he told me, I asked if it meant they'd be getting back together, and he assured me he was going ahead with the divorce. Him and I were still just friends at that point. After the first anniversary of their son's stillbirth, May, Gemma had kind of a relapse that day, and Greg was there for her. They became closer after that. And when he and I became an official couple in June of 2022, she became a permanence in my life too. When their divorce was finalized the next month, July, he moved into my house, and that's when she got super clingy. Greg came to my sister's house today, and we talked. He broke down, and I think it was the first time he let himself cry over losing a child. I know most of the comments said that Greg and Gemma were already sleeping together, but he swears to me that they're not physical, and he really did sleep on her couch the night he spent at her house. He did confess that he's not sure he's over Gemma, and thought that having a baby with her, yes, the old-fashioned insemination way, would fix whatever's keeping them broken. He apologized for getting involved with me before he healed, and knows both him and Gemma need counseling. He doesn't know if they'll get back together, but he's moving out of our house and moving back in with her. He says he knows that having a baby right now would be foolish and is planning grief counseling for them both. I don't know how I held it together while he sobbed and apologized, but the second he left, I was a mess. Everyone who called me stupid for even making the post was right. I was planning on spending the rest of my life with this man, and in the end, he'll probably spend the rest of his life with the woman I forced myself to tolerate for 3 years. I don't know if I'll be okay, but thank you for letting me vent. My 27 female grandmother died 4 years ago. When she got engaged to my grandfather, he gave her a 21-karat gold ring with diamonds and a ruby in the center. That ring was eventually passed to my dad when he was ready to propose to my mom. As far as I know, she never took the ring off, and the ring was returned to my dad when my mom passed. Recently, me and my partner of 3 years have been talking about getting engaged. I asked my dad about the ring, and he agreed if I ever got engaged I would inherit the ring. Well, last night I told my boyfriend about the ring and how it was passed on. He said his daughter, who was from a previous relationship, would love to inherit it eventually. I explained that she wouldn't be getting the ring since she's not my daughter, that if my baby, 11 months, wants it when she's older, that she will inherit it. This caused a massive argument, in which my partner called me a bee and said I was treating his daughter differently because she's not blood. Things might be different if I actually had a relationship with her, but I don't. I've only met her once in person and honestly don't know her that well. She has no attachment to the ring, but my daughter will since it'll be her grandmother's and great-grandmother's ring. I made a point of saying to him if he proposed to me with it, I'd return it to my dad for safekeeping. So, am I the a-hole? You're going to marry someone who called you a bee? Not the a-hole. Also, how have you been with someone for 3 years and met his daughter once? Are you saying that he, and you, basically has no relationship with his daughter and thinks she should inherit your mother's ring? That's delusional. Not the a-hole. And seriously, he called you a B for it? He thinks that his daughter, who he apparently doesn't even raise, has any right to it? It would be your ring regardless. Don't give it to him to propose to you. If it remains yours 100% unattached, then he can't dictate who receives it nor when. I'm not even sure if you should get close to that point if he's calling you a B over this. I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old with my ex-husband. We co-parent, but are not friends, nor like each other. He's with the woman he had an affair with, so I can never get past that. They also have a 3-year-old conceived while we were still together. Whenever I send my sons over to their dads, I give them a lot of their belongings that they usually bring home. The standard of living at their dad's is a bit lower, so the stuff they have is nicer than what he has for them. He makes a lot of money. He's just more frugal and doesn't spend lavishly. I do, and I spoil my sons rotten. I don't leave out their brother. I have no issues with him and have love for him as he's innocent, and I don't want any tension between the brothers. I've gifted him things in the past to his parents with no issue from either. My mother-in-law is a massive fur collector, and she's gifted both my sons fur blankets that they adore and sleep with every night. The fur is so soft, I swear it helps you fall asleep. I noticed the past few weeks my oldest son's blanket was missing, and I asked him about it. He said he gave it to his little brother to keep because it helps him sleep at nap time. I thought that was really sweet of him to think of and do on his own, and almost cried tears of joy until he continued, saying, sadly, he misses it, and wished he could get it back, but his stepmom said he has enough things, and that without the blanket, her son refuses to sleep. That shocked me. I don't think it's her place to tell my son that he has enough things and guilt him into leaving the blanket. I asked him if he asked for it back, and he said he has, a few times, but she says no. I was very angry, but decided to react as nicely, or so I thought. Apparently I'm the a-hole though, and asked my mother-in-law if I could buy a blanket from her, as I know she had at least one more, and she asked why, since the other were gifts, and I explained the situation, and she gave me the other blanket as a gift for my son's brother, and even asked for his initials for the stitched monogram. At their next week with their dad, I came inside with the blanket and spoke with their stepmother and ex-husband. I told them that I don't appreciate that my son was guilted into leaving his blanket behind, which I guess my ex had no clue about. She said she never guilted him and denied that she refused to give it back and that he chose to gift it and was getting irate with me. I gave them the blanket I bought for their son and told my son to go grab his blanket, and he ran off. My ex apologized, but she was getting upset, saying I was making a show to buy their son a blanket and take the other back to make them look like bad parents for not buying unneeded expensive things and like thieves. And I'm an a-hole for just not presenting it as a gift and falsely accusing them of withholding it from my son and that he willingly gifted it, and it's bad manners to ask for it back. Am I the a-hole? Woman, you have some kind of class. Really, you are a rare breed and an example to all of us. After what these people have put you through, you don't owe them anything. Yet you put your hurt aside, nurtured a loving relationship between your kids and their brother, have decided to be sweet to a child who, by no fault of his own, came into this world through an act of utter betrayal, and have maintained a cool and level head while dealing with people hell-bent on making your life less pleasant. You are a good egg. You are a good mother. You shall be the first poster that I bestow an award upon. I knew I was saving those coins I have for something. I hope life is good for you. Your kindness to this little boy has touched my heart. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She's upset because you shined light on the situation and made it transparent to the adults. I like your classy approach to gifting the son with a touch of the South. Well, bless your heart. Her rationale is weak. Kids take one another's things frequently, and it is not bad manners to settle the score. She is defensive and wants what she wants. Not the a-hole. I'd be livid if that woman told my son that he had enough stuff. That's not okay for her to say. I'd be wary of what she says to him and how she treats him while there and discuss it with X. She seems very jealous. I inherited my father's house after he and his wife died in a car crash 2 years ago. After about a year in the house, I decided it was time to begin treating it like it were mine and felt ready to start thinking about renovations and future changes. Everything was done earlier this year, and the house is completely different than it was before, save for a single chair I decided to keep. Even the exterior colors and landscaping are totally different. My stepsisters, 28, 24, 19, came over yesterday for the first time since it's been renovated. Immediately after looking around, they started freaking out about how I ruined our parents' house, and yelled and cried about how it looked like they had never even lived there. Then they complained about my dad not leaving them as much as me, how they got ripped off in the inheritance just because they were stepchildren, and how unfair it was, and how I should share my inheritance with them. I told them to get the duck out of my house. Their mother was only married to my dad for a couple years before they died, and we were all grown, except the youngest, who was 16. It's not like he was with this woman for 20 years and raised these kids. My dad left me the house and about $2 million after taxes, and gave them each $200K. Personally, I think that's rather generous to leave the adult children of a woman you've only been with for a few years. Also, this woman on her own had nothing, and they would have been lucky to get enough money from her death to cover the funeral had she not been with my dad. I feel like I didn't do anything wrong, but a few family members are telling me I should have waited a few years before renovating, and I should have given them all some more of the inheritance. What do you guys think? Edit. I'm getting a lot of comments about this, so I should mention that they had already gone through the house and collected what they wanted of their mother's things long before I renovated, so that was not an issue. Not the a-hole. They got $200,000 each, and they're complaining for more? Not to sound bratty, but they were lucky to get anything. You can do whatever you want with your house, and it is your house now. It's not theirs. If he wanted it to be theirs, he would have left it to all of you. Not the a-hole. It was your inheritance, and as you stated, they were nearly all adults when your parents got married. They are not entitled to anything your dad left, and he was generous in his gifts to them. Maybe a heads up you were remodeling, so they could have taken any furniture or items that were your parents' that you were getting rid of. But still, you don't owe them anything. Absolutely not the a-hole. He left it for you for a reason. That was his choice. He's been more than generous towards his stepchildren, and you owe them zero conversation before making any changes to a house that has never belonged to them and they have never lived in. So I, 36 male, have 2 children, 13 male and 10 female, from a previous relationship. I've been with my wife, 34 female, for 8 years. We have 2 twin boys, 5 male. We have had my older children religiously the whole time at weekends and during school holidays. As they've gotten older, our house rules have differed from when they were at home with my ex. For example, bedtime is staggered at our house, and things like no dessert if they don't eat enough of their tea. With 4 children, it is a busy household, and a few rules help with controlling our time and ensuring we can do things as a family. Anyway, over the last 12 months, when my older children come over, they have expressed their dislike for some of our rules, mainly the no phones after lunch until after tea. They can have them on them and reply to messages and calls. However, it's just no sitting on social media. They can go on phones in the morning and after tea if they aren't out doing things. During the day, we try to do family activities, such as bowling or cinema, or bike rides and such. Or if we stay home, it's board games and just interacting as a family. As my older son is getting older, me and my wife understand that on his weekends, he likes to be with his friends, and we will drop him off to where his friends are and pick him up at a set time, as we live in the other end of the city. However, now for the last 3 months, they have refused to come to our house due to these rules, and my ex asked me to compromise on these rules, which I declined, mainly because it's not the most aggressive and archaic of rules. Plus, it will start the spiral of my twins saying that they can get what they want if they express enough dislike. I have said the door will always be open for them, and I won't forcibly make them come to our house. So, am I the a-hole for not relaxing the rules so they can come over just to sit on their phones? I don't think it is too harsh, but I'm also feeling guilty that they don't want to come over anymore. With my ex, they are allowed to cut their own routine, and that's fine there, as it isn't my house and whatever works for them. My wife agrees with our rules, which are for all children, and backs me 100%, but I find myself questioning if I'm doing the right thing or not. Edit. The 5-year-olds do not have phones, and they all don't follow the same exact rules, and the older children have their phones. They just can't sit scrolling for 5 hours in the middle of the day when we've made plans and made an effort to do something as a family. It's mainly one day of the week, too. The other day of the weekend, they are with their friends and have their phones with them and can do as they please with said phones. It's just one day a week for 5 hours. I don't think it matters if you're the a-hole or not here, The real question is, what do you care about more? Limiting screen time or having a relationship with your older children? I get that you are upset about screen time interfering with family time, but your rule is quite literally ensuring that you won't get any time at all with your older children, since they're refusing to even come over. Would you rather have no time or time that's potentially disrupted by some social media scrolling? I think you're being too rigid here. Seems like you're just being stubborn and don't want to give in to your children and admit you were wrong. Ultimately, you are the one who is missing out due to this rule of yours. Consider if it's worth it. You're the a-hole. Your kids are unhappy at your home. That already tells you everything you need to know. Forced family time doesn't work on tweens and teens. It makes them resentful. Being a parent is more important than being a friend. Kids need to understand rules and boundaries, so they don't turn into entitled adults who freak out because they never heard the word no before. OP is definitely not the a-hole. I, Ashley, 32 female, have been working at my job for 3 years and was put in another group a year ago due to a company reorganization. The group I'm in barely acknowledges my existence. It consists of our manager, Ben, 45 male, Leslie, 24 female, Jerry, 67 male, and myself. I'm pretty sure Ben and Leslie are having an affair, and Jerry is Leslie's professional mentor, so they're thick as thieves and essentially ignore me. Ben is decently civil. Leslie doesn't want anything to do with me because I'm not a man who can help her career. And Jerry is only nice when he knows I'm going out for lunch and wants me to pick up his. A year and a half ago, my former mentor, Mike, 41 male, started working as the SVP over a totally separate area. My group immediately decided that they didn't care for him or the changes he wanted to make throughout the company, and have made a few offhanded, snarky comments about him. Though our work doesn't have much overlap, so it isn't an excessive amount. Leslie apparently tried to suck up to him at the company winter party, and his response was tepid at best. So she really doesn't care for him. I never bothered to tell them that Mike and I had a connection from back when I was in school, and they never asked. Mike is also pretty private. Neither of us have social media, and we generally keep to ourselves. Mike and I started dating, which was cleared by human resources. When I got engaged, no one at work asked about my ring for the 3 months I was wearing it, or about the 2-week vacation I've put on the group calendar in June. However, they definitely noticed yesterday when the last name in my email signature changed, since Mike and I got married in a low-key ceremony on Saturday. Today, Jerry sat down in my office and said that Leslie was crying, convinced that I'm going to go to human resources and get her fired, and that Ben was also uncomfortable. Jerry said that he was surprised that I would do something like this, aka letting them make mildly snarky comments about the work of someone I was involved with, and not tell my group I was marrying him. I calmly asked him when they had even taken an interest in me or my life, and at what point in the conversation would it have come up, and he didn't have a good answer. But am I the a-hole here? Not the a-hole. The only reason they give a duck is because they are scared they are going to get hauled into the HR for being a-holes about a higher-up. What a bunch of dopes. You are not the a-hole here, friend. I love the detail that nobody asked about your ring for 3 freaking months. Chill out. Don't feel guilty. It'll be okay. And if it doesn't blow over, consider eventually working towards getting a job somewhere else. Not the a-hole. You're not obligated to tell them anything. Also, they all seem oddly self-centered. Like, oh my God, she didn't tell us she's dating him. Now she's married to him and gonna tattle on us to her husband. If you have some evil long plot where you plan to get them in hot water, or even canned, and for some ridiculous reason, waited until you were married to enact it. First, kudos to you. Excellent long game, 10 out of 10. Also, that would be an a-hole move. That being said, I very much doubt that's what's going on here. And you not telling a few distant coworkers that you're dating someone they're making snarky comments about? Nowhere near a-hole territory, dude.